It's time to talk about the most interesting planeswalker in the entirety of War of the Spark. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Today's spoiler discussion, is going to be talking about what for me is the most interesting planeswalker out of the entire upcoming War of the Spark set. Now, this is something that for you may vary. There may be some people who find the Wanderer to be the most exciting and interesting sort of planeswalker. Who are they? What are they? But for me, there's just something about the Wanderer that falls flat. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe it's just that I don't trust Wizards' ability to really deliver anything incredible in terms of the suspense and the buildup, and that I think it's just going to be like, ta-da! It was Elspeth all along, or it was this other walker you already know, and we just called them the Wanderer and took away their creature type. And when you look at the Wanderer card and you look at the other card that goes along with Wanderer Strike or whatever it is, there's nothing there to really feed your imagination that much. The thing is, when it comes to feeding your imagination and creating more questions, I find that a little bit of information is good. And I think the Wanderer came in on the side of not quite enough information to make for a really exciting, like, who is this? I do want to know who the Wanderer is, but at the same time, I'm not nearly as interested in them as I'm interested in the subject of today's video. And that is Kaz Mina, Enigmatic Mentor. And she is indeed an enigma for me. For those of you who don't know, the first hints that we got of Kaz Mina, aside obviously from the stained glass windows that teased all of the planeswalkers, and that's what ignited this whole conversation. Who are these mystery walkers? There were a couple of ones we really couldn't pin down who they were going to be. Kaz Mina was one of them, and up until a couple of days ago at most, we had no idea of even her name. And then somebody spoiled a poster that they made for War of the Spark that actually looks like a movie poster, and it has a cast of characters, including zombified versions of the gods from Amonkhet. So if you're wondering if they're going to make an appearance, I think it's pretty likely that we're going to get to see them, and I'm curious about those guys. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Listed amongst those names, tucked right in there, was a name Kaz Mina, and that's all it said. So I was like, who's Kaz Mina? Well, by process of elimination, obviously, who else could it be but the card that we're going to look at? Now, obviously, with the card fully spoiled, we no longer have to wonder, well, who exactly is Kaz Mina in terms of what Planeswalker stained glass artwork applies to her. We know that now. So let's take a look at the card itself. It's 1 blue, 3 colorless. Her name, obviously, as I mentioned, is Kaz Mina, Enigmatic Mentor. Her ability is spells your opponent's cast that target a creature or planeswalker you control cost 2 more to cast. And the other ability is -2, create a 2/2 blue wizard creature token, draw a card, then discard a card. That's a pretty interesting concept. Now, the second ability definitely ties into the mentor part of her name. She's an enigmatic mentor, and the drawing and discarding a card kind of ties into the revealing of mysteries. I enjoy the fact that, to me right now, she is an enigma, because this is not a character that is old and steeped in Magic lore. This is a brand new character that they've created specifically for this. We don't know how heavily she's going to weigh into the War of the Spark. We don't know exactly where her loyalties lie. We just know that she is a planeswalker that's powerful enough to be teaching other wizards. Is she the head of some sort of wizarding institution? Does she head some kind of arcane college? Is she some kind of rogue mountaintop mystic where people have to travel to her to learn from her? Oh, for me, I enjoy the whole flavor of this. The fact that she can create just boom on the spot. I'm going to summon up wizards to aid me, and at the same time, I'm going to be able to gather some mystic energy, pull another spell into my repertoire, but I also have to disperse with a spell. So it's the changing of magical energies. It makes me genuinely wonder what she's about, whereas the Wanderer's ability is just exile a creature, and the card itself, the other card that they made, it's all just about destroying creatures. And for me, the Wanderer falls flat. I think not having a name, not having these things to tie into the identity actually hurts the Wanderer and makes the Wanderer less of a mystery. Kaz Mina, Enigmatic Mentor, to me, is very interesting. The spells that your opponents cast at target creature or planeswalker you control costing 2 more to cast means she's also going to be harder to deal with. You won't be able to use spells to remove her immediately, and also the creatures that you will use to defend her are also going to be under that protective shroud that make it more difficult to cast spells. So basically, her just showing up creates this sort of aura that messes with the way that Magic works overall. And that is definitely very flavorful to me. And what I like about her as well is every planeswalker in this set has a spell tied to them, right? They all have one. They have their spell, their namesake spell, essentially, their signature spell, if you will. So Kaz Mina is no different in that regard. She has Kaz Mina's Transmutation, showing that this is one of her specialties, right? And when you take a look at this card, actually, sorry, you know what? Let's back up for a moment. I forgot to actually talk about her artwork, which for me is very striking, in all honesty. I like the one hand that's completely illuminated in blue magic. She looks beautiful. She's got this interesting looking staff as well. It does have kind of a Teferi-esque kind of feel to it when you look at her staff overall. It does feel similar to the staff that Teferi wields. When you look at her garments, it doesn't really pin her down to any particular plane of existence that we're familiar with. So at this point, Kaz Mina could be from somewhere we've never been. She could actually be showing up from a plane of existence we have yet to visit. And that's interesting to me. That's one of the things I like about Teo. One of the few things I like about Teo. His card's pretty underwhelming. But I like the idea of them coming from different planes of existence, because I feel like with the whole returning to worlds over and over in Magic the Gathering, that we've lost something. We don't get the same level of variety of going to all these different planes. And I really like exploring new worlds, the mythology behind it, the whole story of the world. What's it about? What are the people like? What is the magic like there? What makes their society function? All these questions. So I have a lot of questions about Kaz Mina, whereas with the Wanderer, I genuinely just feel it's going to be, surprise, it's actually a planeswalker you already knew, and we were just keeping it under wraps. And that's not as exciting as something new to me. That's just something old being rehashed. Now, if it turns out the Wanderer is something new and there's more details to it, great. I'm not going to complain about that. But for me, Kaz Mina is interesting and new. And when you look at her Kaz Mina's Transmutation, you can see her there in the artwork, and you see that there is a big bird there kind of flying nearby. Is that her familiar? And in the foreground, we can see what's actually happening with the spell here. We can see an Eternal being turned into a frog. So Kaz Mina's Transmutation is 1 blue and 1 colorless for an enchantment aura. It's an enchant creature, and the enchanted creature loses all abilities and has base power and toughness 1/1. Now, this is a recent wording change. They used to just say becomes 1/1 or whatever. It never said base power and toughness 1/1. I think that this is a really smart change in terms of templating, because it makes it more clear to people that this is where you start. You start at the 1/1 and then you add on. So if there are other enchantments that give a boost, or spells like a Giant Growth, for example, that give a boost, or things that give a minus, they're applied after the base stats are changed to 1/1. And it's actually kind of funny to note that in this artwork, she's transmuted an Eternal into a 1/1 frog. But if you look at the Amass ability right now, that's coming up more of the Spark, it makes 0/0 zombie tokens that have +1/+1 counters on them. So Kaz Mina's Transmutation would actually make an army of Eternals stronger. So the flavor on that is a little bit wonky. And it's also interesting to note that normally with these sort of blue spells that set power and toughness, or like, I should say, not set power and toughness, normally with these blue spells that are like, I'm going to change you into whatever, like, I'm going to change you to a frog, or I'm going to change you to this, it will either be like an instant effect that only lasts till end of turn, or it'll be a permanent effect, but it destroys the creature and replaces it with a token. So it would just be like, okay, you've been turned into a frog now, and that overrides everything. And what you were originally, what originally you were, is gone entirely. With this, you can definitely see the melding of frog and Eternal. It even still has its little like, hey, check me out, I've got my Eternal robes. They've been shrunk down to fit me. It's a very flavorful card, and the flavor text is fun too. Hop away now, little Eternal. Go eat some flies. So that helps to show us the playful nature of Kaz Mina. She's definitely an enigma to me. For me, she's the absolute most interesting planeswalker in the entirety of War of the Spark. There's nobody to me that I want to know more about. The Wanderer, kind of. Kaz Mina, very much so. I would like to know where she's from and what she's about. Why is she here? What are her goals? What is she normally trying to accomplish? What is her homeworld like? I have many, many questions about her that are generally, just for me, when I think about the Wanderer, I go, okay, just tell me which planeswalker it is already. But with Kaz Mina, it opens up a whole new world of questions where I want to know so much more. Let me know what you guys think about this character overall, because I'm genuinely curious what your thoughts are, and we will roll the golden scroll. These are the people who have my back on Patreon or through channel memberships. Thank you very much for supporting my channel. Genuinely appreciate it. Also, a shout out to anybody who's recently picked up any of my merch. It seems like you guys are enjoying the offerings that are out there just based on the reaction that I'm getting to them and people are picking them up. So thanks for supporting my channel. Enjoy your mugs and shirts and stickers and stuff, my friends. And I shall catch up with you guys tomorrow.